What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the stream. I hope you guys had a great day since I've last seen you, and let's jump straight into things, all right? Chat, as always, if you have any questions or anything, let me know. Throw your questions or pairs if you have any down in the chat, and let's get started, all right? You know what? I might as well start here on UJ. I do like this setup. I was looking at this setup with you guys earlier in the week, but it's, taking its time, so that's pretty much that. But what I'm looking at now is obviously we were waiting on this pullback. It was doing its thing. And then overnight, last night, it started to make this move coming on down. Stream crashed last night. I don't know why, but obviously it doesn't really matter in hindsight. But yeah, we wanted to see a sell opportunity up in here after this move coming down. We do have a bit of a breakout there, right? Now it's pulling back up a little bit. If we can see some solid rejection at some resistance, ideally down here, I don't want to see it pull back up further, at least if I'm going to be catching a sell soon. Then I can look for a sell down here targeting some lower support, all right? Target would probably be where I had it before, which was like just about 154, which is down here, so it's not too crazy, but it's definitely solid. And that's the plan with UJ, all right? I'm going to keep it simple here to start with UJ because the setup is simple. It's really that simple. So moving forward, GJ, I mean, these are going to look somewhat similar, right? I wanted the pullback to then look for a selling opportunity. It had pulled back and then eventually made this move overnight. Not something I would really have been looking to trade up here, most likely, even if I was awake and trading at that point. But the same thing in terms of what I'm looking for now applies, right? If we could see some solid rejection at resistance, I'd be looking to sell lower, all right? Let's revisit gold, chat. It's been a minute, all right? What I was looking for last time, which was, I guess, probably 2 days ago, that I marked this up on stream, was if we could see a rejection in this area, then I could start looking for sells, right? That was the play that I had kind of laid out for you guys. Here we do see an initial rejection, but it's just brief as it pulls back and then carries on up. So no sell here for me. What I would want for a sell next would be a re-break below support down here, all right? And since this level has been broken, that could be setting up for some buys, all right? This would be somewhat of a trend line breakout buy setup, right? Initial move made, not really a solid break and retest kind of entry down here in this area. I wouldn't have been looking for that anyways. I wanted to wait for a break above resistance before looking for the buys. So we have that now. We see a nice little pullback and it's doing its thing and it could start to carry on up from here, or maybe it wants to retest again or even break below, right? It might not be ready to make this move up yet is my point. But that being said, again, it could, right? I'm not really looking to trade gold right now here on this trading account challenge, so it doesn't really matter too much to what I'm doing here, but I do like it, and yeah, I mean, I really haven't been trading gold as much in general in a little while, so I probably won't be touching this one either. I like the setup though, so I'm happy to revisit it over the next couple days and see what happens here. But with this one, I'll tell you guys up front that I realistically will just be staying out. Yeah, gold just hasn't been as much my thing the last couple months, but we'll see. All right. Let's see. USD CAD. I was in a couple sells here with the signals group. We caught a nice move down here. Entered another sell over here. Was it over here? I think it was over here, right? I caught a nice move. Started to pull back. I went risk-free after the solid move. It wasn't a big enough move to where I was like urgently ready to secure profit. But I did go risk-free because I didn't want to go back into drawdown because I might have hopped in over here initially, I think, now that I'm looking back, because we did see a bit of a pullback after my entry to, for whatever reason, it just pulled back a little bit more, while still remaining valid. I mean, we do have this kind of zone of resistance up here, so that was never really broken. Held up, did its thing, came into profit, pulled back a little bit more, and then eventually made that move. I go risk-free, comes up and takes me out at risk-free, which I think was the right play on my end. The only thing that could have been better in hindsight would have been closing out in full or securing some profit. But that would only have been the right play in hindsight if it played out this way, which I couldn't have been sure, right? I went risk-free so that I could remove the risk, but also still give it a chance to carry on and play out, right? So that was the objective behind me not securing profit. And securing partials at that point wouldn't have really been worth it in my opinion. It was kind of insignificant and made a nice move, but nothing too crazy. So the profit wasn't really all that much, and I would have rather try and hold and let it make that bigger move, because if it had made a bigger move after securing that profit there, then the overall setup wouldn't have been as big and just wouldn't have been worth it to me. So pretty happy with how I played it. You know, we caught a nice move, the exact kind of setup that I'm trying to trade. It was a smaller trendline breakout setup, gave us the break and retest, and then makes this move. This one didn't end up carrying on. Like I said, it pulled back up, closed out at break even. But that was the right play in terms of the trade management, because if I didn't close out at break even, if I just decided, hey, I'll risk it and let it run, then it would have come up and hit where my stop loss was. So we avoided a loss, caught a nice entry, and we played it pretty much how I should have, right? Not every trade is obviously going to be a winning trade. It might not make that move, right? With no matter what setup or strategy you have, that's going to be the case. So that's why trade management is so important, because you can't just rely on a strategy to, you know, hit your take profit, because that's obviously, it's not that simple, unfortunately. All right. So that's the recap here on USD CAD. Now let me break down what I'm looking for now. All right. I'm not looking for buys right now, even if it is going to carry on up. It could push all the way up towards resistance here, and I'm still not looking to buy that. Now, don't get me wrong, 2 weeks can go by and price could be lower down here and give me some sort of buy setup then. But with what we're dealing with now, I don't have a buy opportunity. I would want to wait for a buy above this level. So if we get a breakout above resistance, chat, that's where I'm looking for buys. All right. No buy opportunities for me before then, unless we get some sort of set up to develop over the next, you know, couple days or weeks, right? For now, we don't have that. So only buying opportunity for me with my, you know, strategy and setups is going to be above here. It doesn't mean, you know, if you're some sort of scalper and have your own, you know, strategy, there could be tons of opportunities besides what I trade, right? That's how it's going to be. But for what I'm looking to do, nothing for buys until this level's broken. For sells, I want to be careful, because obviously it is pulling back up right now, and it's not in a way that would necessarily give me an entry just yet. Now we do have some resistance over here. I'll mark it up on one of these. Right, we're going to have some resistance here. We saw this level tested as support, resistance as well, and price is approaching this level. It's rejected once, and now it's re-pulling back up towards it. So let's see what happens. I mean, this could reject here again, and I don't want to say I'll probably have a sell right then, but that could then lead to a sell. I don't know how long after, right? It depends. It could pull back a third time, a fourth time, or could then be ready to make the move after, you know, this pullback, right? We have to wait and see what happens, right? I'm not a future teller. I can't predict that. We're trying to react to the move, all right? So if we can see something along these lines, a solid rejection at resistance, that should create some selling opportunity for me that I would be happy to trade. I like USD CAD. I've been trading these sells, catching some nice moves, dating back quite a while as this has been falling. And yeah, I'm ready to catch another one when this sets up, all right? We're not going to jump the gun on it. We know what we're looking for here, and now we wait on it. And if it breaks above this level here, it doesn't mean I'm buying. That's just not a range I'm looking to trade, all right? I'm going to try and like wait for those buys until... Sorry, chat mouse is glitching out there. I'm waiting for buys until this level's broken. And yeah, with rejection here, I can start looking for sells. If it does break out above this level, we could see a rejection of some resistance a little bit higher, which can lead to some sells. Yeah, so there's selling opportunity here. And if it pulls back further, you know, that can also create more opportunity in that way. All right. So yeah, I mean, I like USD CAD. Now it's just time to wait on it, right? I don't want to trade every move the market's making, every little up and down. It's not for me to trade, right? We wait for our setups and then we go ahead and take advantage. How's it going? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Can I look up EuroCAD? For sure. I don't think that's going to be in my favorites list. It's not one of my frequently traded pairs, but let me pull that up. See how we're looking. All right. Chat, if you guys have any other pairs, feel free to throw them down in the chat, and I'll take a look after this one. Okay, let me actually pull this one out a little bit farther. I like to use the 4-hour time frame, but sometimes, like when I'm marking up and breaking down some of the other pairs that I trade, you know, pretty regularly, or even if I'm not trading, I'm at least on their charts regularly. For those ones, I'm not necessarily, like sometimes I might break it down and I don't take a look at the 4-hour time frame, you know, in that instance. And that's partially because I've kind of been following up with the setup and the pair and for, you know, days, weeks. I'm kind of, you know, up to date on that one. So yeah, I'll continue to flip through them even when I'm, you know, looking for that entry, but doesn't mean every time I open that chart, I'm checking all the different time frames. I will sometimes, and I definitely do, you know, like if I'm preparing for that trade or have a setup, But, you know, just like I have now for a couple pairs where I open them up and take a look. UJ and Euro, USD CAD, Euro USD 2, like those are pairs that I've been watching for days, you know, like specifically having been trading them the last couple days and waiting for setups. So, you know, I'm pretty fresh on what's going on. Okay, Euro CAD, let's take a look. Like I said, 4 hour, let's start there. What I'm seeing first off rip, which we got some resistance right over here, right? Got a resistance zone marked up, right? I would consider it kind of like just resistance up in this area. If it breaks a little bit higher, it doesn't mean it's necessarily a breakout. We need a solid move above, for example, to actually be considered a breakout, not like this. We need something more significant like, you know, an actual breakout, right? This would be more of a breakout than this little thing. It's creeping above the level, but that's not a breakout that I'd be ready to trade. That could easily, you know, reverse and come back down. So for buys, maybe I could, well, now that I'm on the 4 hour time frame, I'm pretty cool here. Let me go down to the 1 hour. I was going to say that we could look for buys maybe above this level with that clean kind of break, ideally a break and retest. That's what I would want to actually get an entry. Doesn't mean it needs to give us a retest and look exactly like this to make this move, but I'll have the best chance and safest chance of, you know, catching a nice entry here if we can see this set up something like this, all right? Not exactly, but like a clean break above, it has to be, you know, significant enough to not be at extreme risk of being a fake out. You know, even if we get a big breakout, it could still come back down, right? That's trading. Literally anything can happen. You know, doesn't mean it's completely unpredictable, but in a way it is. Like it's gonna move in ways that you can't always expect. And there's also going to move in ways that you can't expect. So the more you know, the better off you are. But you also want to prepare for what you don't know exactly is going to happen, right? I kind of forgot the point I was trying to make when I started going off onto that. But, oh yeah, I was going to say that it could pull back or it could break out, you know, higher and give us a bit of a higher pullback. It could, you know, be a bit of a smaller breakout, still clean and, you know, pull right back down to this level. It could even close a little bit below and then break back above. Point is, you know, you got to be kind of ready for different kinds of circumstances like that. And that's why I emphasize patience so much, is because you have to wait that kind of thing out. You can't be trying to predict that. If you try and predict that, that's when you get caught in the wrong kind of entry. And when you're patient, it gives you a higher chance of, you know, avoiding that, seeing exactly what you need before that entry. So breakout above here, I can start looking for those buys to simplify. All right. Targeting some higher resistance. I would probably initially, well, yeah, I'd probably be targeting some resistance like up in this area over here off rip. So that would probably be the play for me if we get that breakout coming up. Now, if this continues to reject at resistance here, then obviously it's not carrying on up, and then I'd want to be looking for some sells to carry on down. So in that case, I mean, like I said, I can't predict exactly how this is going to go. It could pull back and reject and then start to make this move. It can also pull back and reject, make a move, and then pull back up again, and then make a bigger move. You know what I mean? Like, it can really play out a number of different ways. So, yeah, like, seriously, it can literally do something like this and then come all the way down. You never know exactly. But patience and trying to wait it out and trying to actually see that maybe reversal coming back down is going to give me a better chance of catching a good trade. So we want to wait for a solid rejection or rejections at this level. And once we start to see this reverse and break out, that's when I'd be not break out, just reverse and come back down. That's, I mean, I guess you could say a breakout depending on how I have it marked up, but let me do this quickly. Yeah, so when I say breakout, I kind of mean below some support like this, right? Marked up this trend line too. I wouldn't look at this as like a trend line setup, but you know, you can frequently mark these kinds of things up, right? And it definitely doesn't work against me. So if we can get a breakout coming, so we see rejection or rejections up at resistance, starts to come back down, breaking below some support down here would be a better indication this is coming down. So that's one thing I could look for. And yeah, I mean, I could also look for an entry up closer to resistance at that rejection. But like I said, you know, it could pull back multiple times there. You know, you could get caught in a range. So that is what you run more of a risk of in that case. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but yeah, that's just something to note. So yeah, Chet, that's EuroCAD. Let me just briefly, like, 2-sentence recap this, just because I'll go on and on about different parts of what I'm saying, and I don't want you guys to get kind of like lost. So point is, just a simple breakdown now after all of that is break and retest buy setup above this level of resistance. You can also look for sells if we get rejection at this resistance, or sells below support down here. All right. Hope that was helpful. Back to the favorites list. Let's take a look at Euro USD now, because I also had a setup here. Don't mind this stuff. I mean, it's somewhat true. There were possible buys above this level and sells below. It broke above and made a buy move. But I was trading USD CAD when this happened. I don't even need this here anymore. I was on TradingView actually when I marked up the setup that I was thinking of. So now I'm just going to clear off the chart and remark it up. I don't remember exactly what I had marked up. I think it might have been actually, let me pull that level back. It's not a bad level to have here. Okay, so I don't remember the specific markings I had up on here. I can mark up a bit of a trend line type setup here. How did I have it? I don't remember marking it up like this, but it works here too. So mark up a little bit of a trend line. We get a bit of a breakout here, a couple retests, and so far it's holding up and looks like it could start to shape up for a bit of a sell setup, which is what I was looking for with this setup here. All right, or with this pair. So, sorry, one sec. Let me get out of here. So yeah, looking at a sell setup for the most part right now. One thing I do want to be careful of is, obviously it made a nice move coming up. It could be a pullback and then carry on up again. So that's something to be aware of. I also did have a buy setup kind of marked up here. I didn't trade it. It has made multiple buy moves up above this level, but nothing too crazy. Like, those would have been clean moves on their own, but it didn't kind of complete the initial setup I had there. It could carry on up towards some higher resistance. So I want to be careful of that. But that being said, it could also make a nice move coming on down here, even if it's shorter term before a bigger move like that. All right. So what I would want to be doing, I mean, this is a support this is a support level that I would be targeting. Now, I don't know how the risk to reward would look like on a sell coming down here. It's not that big a move. Not at all, actually. That's a pretty small move, it looks like. I also could just target lower. I mean, this is just a level of support that we could see, reach, but struggle to break. But it doesn't really matter. I would just secure profit in that case if I'm going to sell and it makes it here and won't break, right? Yeah, no problem. No problem. Yeah, so I'm primarily looking for sells at the moment, shorter term. Thing with Euro USD right now is that I don't want to say it's choppy. It's making nice moves up and down, but they're not making crazy big moves. Well, that's not necessarily true. Actually, well, by the time I would be able to get in at a point where I'd have enough confirmation, they haven't been huge moves. They're solid moves from the bottom to the top, but doesn't necessarily mean I have a quality entry at the bottom to ride it to the top type thing. You know what I mean? So that being said, let me kind of simplify this a little bit more for you guys. Pretty much would have a breakout, trendline breakout setup here, looking for those sells. It could pull back more and still remain clean with that setup, but it doesn't have to, and it looks pretty solid to carry on down from here. So I'm going to be patient with this one a little bit. It's just after 8, so let me actually zoom out to the higher time frame. I didn't even realize I was on the 15 there, so yeah, let me take a fresh look here on the hour. This is more of a stronger support level that I would be targeting as like a final target on this setup, but we do have support a little bit higher that could get, struggle to break if we see it reached. But that doesn't really matter in terms of me looking or trying to find a sell setup, because if I'm going to sell and it makes a move all the way down here, then that's a solid sell, right? So that's a good thing. So yeah, pretty much would be looking after after seeing this breakout, I would be looking to catch a sell, riding it down towards some support here while, monitoring it throughout, because there are points along this way down where you know, we could see struggle to break and it could pull back or reverse. So those are levels where I would possibly want to secure profit if I'm in a nice sell there. But that's not too relevant to actually catching the entry. That's a trade management thing down the road. Overall, the setup here is clean. It has come up nice and is starting to pull back down. So it could be ready to make a bigger move coming on down a little bit towards support. But I also do want to be careful of the possible buys or move coming on up. But I probably would start to look for some buys. I'd probably want to see it break up a little bit higher, kind of invalidating this setup as much as possible. If we could see it start to break up, I mean, I'm going to stop looking for sells tonight, probably if it pulls back up towards like here and I haven't hopped in a trade yet, then setup's still valid, but I'm going to stay out till morning in that case. If it breaks out even higher, I'd probably start to look for some buys up above, but I honestly do prefer sells, so if it's going to give us a setup like that, then I'd rather trade that. If it's going to make the other kind of move, maybe it ends up for a clean entry, but there's also a good chance that I would just maybe stay out and let it do its thing. Now, what I wanted to do was, I'm not hopping in yet, obviously, but I wanted to just get a gauge for what this risk to reward would look like, see if it would even be worth my while, you know? Chat, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to let me know. And if you have any other pairs you want to break down that maybe you guys are looking at or have a setup, or maybe you're in a trade, feel free, let me know. And I'm happy to take a look and give you guys my thoughts, all right? Yeah, target would be like down around here. All right. Okay, with a wider stop loss like this, it's not that wide pip-wise, but it's not a big setup, so that's part of it. It's about, I don't know, like 100, like 16 pips or so. Something in that range, I believe. So, I don't know. I think it's okay. The risk reward's nothing crazy by any means, but it's not bad either. And the stop loss is a little bit wider here, so I think that would give it a better chance. Like if it were to pull back, that wouldn't necessarily be bad. Meaning it would have a better chance of remaining valid and, you know, staying good and ending up making that move because it's not too tight. I'm not at like immediate risk of being taken out on a bit of a pullback if we do see drawdown. So that is good, I guess, about having a bit wider of a stop loss like that, but it takes away from the possible profit, obviously. But I wouldn't want to go too tight on this. Doesn't mean it has to be all the way up here, but I can maybe tighten it a little bit. Actually, I probably wouldn't want to tighten it too much. I'd probably keep it around here, like, 1.17658-ish. Target would be down here. Risk to reward, I'd be risking with the lot size I have now, which isn't necessarily what I would do finalized, but just for the example, I'd be risking about 3% on this for about just under 15%. So that's like about a 1 to 5 risk reward here. All right. And if it is going to pull back here, I take back what I said earlier, chat, where if it like breaks out above like this point, I'm not going to look for a trade here. Things were kind of moving a little bit slow, but if it picks up the pace and gives us a clean pullback further and gives us that rejection, that would be a clean, you know, opportunity that could make that move. You know, I don't know how soon, maybe not too soon, but I don't think it would necessarily take too long. So that still is a possibility for tonight. We'll see. But this is pretty much the gist of the setup, where if it can pull back, that honestly wouldn't be bad. I think we could maybe get some more potential profit out of it. But let's see. Solid sell setup here, chat. Time will tell if this is worthwhile and if it'll actually give me an entry, but it's not bad. Not bad. Can I look at UJ? I think I started on UJ, but I'll definitely pull that one up again because I like UJ. It's actually starting to make a move coming down, which is what I have been looking for. I've been waiting on this, and it's what I said when the stream first started. We got an hour closure since I started the stream, obviously. So this fresh hour candle is now starting to make its way down. Now, don't love the lack of top wick on the previous and current candle, but You know, if it's going to move like that, it's going to move like that. 4 hours looking clean. It's going to close in just under an hour. So if we can get a solid closure here, that would be great. Where would I want to be targeting here? I was targeting originally like down a little bit lower at like 154, just about like right down here. I could still target that level. I don't know if it would be that worth it because it is a little bit lower now, but it's not bad. Let me check that risk to reward, all right? All right. All right, close enough. All right. Risk reward on this is actually not bad, depending on where I'd go with my stop loss. I mean, this is pip-wise, it's not as tight, but it still feels much tighter with this pair in this setup than the other one did. And that's just how it's going to be. I mean, it's not bad though. I mean, it doesn't mean it's net like 100% a winner, but I mean, I could confidently, like if I were to place my stop loss here, I would feel like, you know, I can't formulate my sentences good today, chat. I have thoughts and they're not coming out the way I'm thinking them. What I'm trying to say is that I think that this setup is pretty good because even though it does feel like a bit of a tight stop loss, it's a stop loss placement where it's, where it's like, it's beyond this level where my stop loss would be, or where I have it marked up roughly in this area. At that point, if it passes that level, I'm happy. Pretty much what I don't like is when I place a stop loss and then, you know, the setup can push past my stop loss and then still remain valid and play that out without me. That's what I don't like. And I don't love finding setups like that. Like I like to have my stop loss at a point where obviously the risk to reward and everything is good, but also where if it does hit my stop loss and, you know, reverse, then beyond that, I know that, you know, this setup's a no-go and it's time to move on. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't really even matter too much. It's more, maybe that's more of a personal thing for me, but I do think that actually does affect my trading results, right? If I'm entering trades and that where my stop loss gets hit and then it ends up making that move, that can lead to a lot of revenge trading and just a lot of bad habits like that. Whereas if I enter a setup and, you know, everything's lining up in terms of the risk reward and all that, and it looks good, and my stop loss is at a point where if it does take me out, that I know that I don't want to be in this setup anymore and that the setup's done, it's going to reverse. That's good because then I can walk away just happy. You know, it's a loss and that's going to happen from time to time, but it's not a bad loss in my book. If it's a good setup, a clean setup that I would take 10 out of 10 times, win or loss, because, you know, with my strategy, I'd say about, you know, roughly like 6, 7 of them, maybe 8 are going to make a decent move. Some all the way, some giving us a decent amount of profit, and then some will just not be, you know, right. And that's okay. And in those cases, if I can have them where I'm totally good after leaving those and not feeling like, should I re-enter this? Like, is it going to make the move now? Then that's good, right? That's what I was trying to say. And I don't know, chat, let me know. What do you guys think about that? Like, do you guys have that experience or have you kind of thought that way? Risk reward on this one is pretty good with this. Stop loss where it is. I mean, it's pulling back up right now. Like, I obviously wouldn't be hopping in a sell with the stop loss tight like this. No top wick. Not a good situation. If it is going to pull back up higher, that's fine. It doesn't invalidate the setup. That was just an example. I wouldn't say it can definitely pull back on up. In this case, I don't love the way these last couple candles are looking. And yeah, like up in this area when it was starting to reject and come back down, that's when I was like, okay, this is a nice possible sell opportunity. Didn't hold up, and we weren't ready for the sells yet, and it is starting to pull back. So in the last like hour or two, I started thinking that we could see it probably pull back further. So now that we do have this red candle coming down, I don't want to impulse jump into these sells. It definitely can still pull back further in this case, and it could still remain clean. So what I actually just rambled about doesn't actually directly apply to this situation, but I do think that is very important when I'm taking these trades. So I am going to try and put it and have it at a point where it's like that. So yeah, we really do have to be patient with this one because we don't know how it's going to close, and current candles are a little bit sketch on the 1 hour, so I will definitely be wanting to use some other time frames to guide. 30 I'm not loving right now. I would trade more off the 15 at the moment. I would use the 4 hour to assist this, which isn't too much help for me until we can get some closure in about 40 minutes. And yeah, I mean, the 30 and the 1 hour are telling me it's not the best time for an entry yet. 15 tells a little bit of a different story. I mean, it's all the same at the end of the day, but what we do see here is a previous candle closure coming down, and this is pulling back up a little bit, right? We could end up seeing this shape up to be, you know, some sort of top wick and it starts to come back down, or maybe a little bit of a pullback. If we get a closure pulling back up like this, it could close here, then create a top wick and just come back down, which is clean on the lower time frames, regardless of the less clean candles prior. And these candles actually, now that I'm on the lower time frames, I am seeing a bit of a top wick on these 2 candles here. Very small, so not that relevant, but it is worth noting actually. Let me take a look back on the 1 hour here and zoom in a little bit. Yeah, we got small wicks here. It's not the best, but it's something. It doesn't really do much for me though. What I want to do here now, chat, to summarize, now that I've kind of just rambled on about a bunch, setup's looking good. This, and I would say, I got to check USD CAD again. This and Euro USD are 2 setups that I'm liking tonight, if they'll give me the confirmation I need. And yeah, I have to revisit USD CAD because I forget exactly what's going on there at this point. Oh no, USD CAD's been pulling up a little bit, so I kind of just need that one to find, you know, resistance and then give us a nice rejection, where I could then look for sells. But it's not as clean in the sense that it's not showing me signs just yet that it's going to do that. It looks like it could carry on pulling back. So going to be a little bit more patient with USD CAD for now. And then, yeah, UJ and Euro USD are more on my radar today. And I guess pretty much more so over the last couple of weeks too, compared to some other pairs. Exactly. Did I go over GJ? I did briefly, and I'm going to keep it brief with GJ just because it kind of looks like UJ and some of these other JPY pairs, not bar for bar, but same setup, same shape, and I'd be looking for the same thing, which is going to be, obviously we get this bigger, deeper move, and then it's kind of been pulling back and, you know, moving a little bit sideways there. So I would want to see that rejection at resistance where I could then look for sells. That's the setup that I'm targeting. It doesn't mean it's going to play out that way. It could carry up, in which case our goal is to stay out. Unless, you know, you trade differently, maybe you're a scalper and you're looking for buys, you know, in the lower time frame. But for what I'm looking for, it's either the sell setup sets up and I'm trying to catch that sell, or it doesn't, and then I'm trying to make sure I hold off and don't enter, right? That's the play here for me on UJ, GJ, and a couple of these ones. I'm just preferring UJ to GJ at the moment with the specific, you know, setup. I just like UJ a little bit more. So that's why I've been trading it here over, or ready to trade it. versus GJ specifically. I think more often than not, I feel that way about UJ versus GJ. I prefer to trade UJ, I feel like. It's doing its thing, chat. Let's be patient. 15 minutes looking good. We just got to be patient with it. Yeah, no problem. I hope that's a little helpful, even though I didn't end up breaking down GJ just now specifically. It is pretty much looking like UJ. So, yeah. And I just don't want to lose my targets and everything I marked up here. 15's pulling back. So, I'd like a nice closure. If this pulls back on it further, that's not, exactly what I'd want to see right now for an entry coming sooner than later. It could lead to a higher entry, which could result in more potential profit down the road if I can't catch an entry at all. But it becomes a little bit less predictable in that sense. If it is going to pull back further, it could just take a little bit more time. But let's see. Let's see what happens. We're going to get a closure on the 30 in about 4.5 minutes. So that should help a little bit. I mean, a closure like this wouldn't necessarily be bad. I mean, if we can get a closure, see a nice top wick on the next candle, and then pull back, that could lead to something. We got to wait and see. If it is going to pull back up higher, I probably would pull my stop loss up a little bit higher. If we could see it pull back higher for a better entry, I'd like to have my stop loss probably around here, I think. Like this would be right in this area. I mean, give or take a few pips. I feel like would be a level where I would be very happy with my stop loss. And if it did break above that, I would just be content being out of the sell and ready to wait for the next trade versus feeling like, shoot, should I have, done something there? Should I hop in again? Like, is it going to make the move? If we could see it, if it passes above this level here where I have my stop loss right now, above there, I'm content being out of a trade if I'm in one and ready to carry on. So this is around where I'd like to see it. And if it's going to pull back closer to it right now, that's not bad. I mean, it's going to give us a better risk to reward in the trade. So, yeah. I mean, with the lot size I have marked up now, which is 0.06, is it? Yeah, I guess 0.06. I thought it was higher. Either way, 0.06, I'd be risking about 3.25% almost, 3.2 for about 21%. So that's like 1 to 6, 1 to 7 risk to reward in that area. So it's pretty good. Pretty good. Now, we got closure in a few. Let's see if this will do something here for us. All right. Chad, how's everybody doing today? How you guys doing? I appreciate you guys tuning into the stream, and I hope you're enjoying it. Last couple streams, I haven't been catching entries. That's going to happen, right? I don't trade every day. I'm on the charts every day preparing for possible trades, but with the way I trade, I don't catch entries every day, and I don't want to catch entries every day. I used to when I was starting out, and probably for a couple of years before I kind of figured out my style and what worked for me. And it wasn't the best fit for what I liked. I mean, there are strategies and approaches to trading where you'll be entering trades every day. It's just not my style, not my thing. I like bigger trades that are better risk to reward and that take a little bit more time to play out, and less of them, because, you know, I find that the more you enter the market, the more you're putting yourself at risk of losing, you know, money in your account, right? Now, obviously, you're at the same risk in a sense when you enter fewer trades, but I don't know. I don't want to be entering too many trades. I feel like that leads me to over trading, and over trading usually ends up with me giving money back to the market, right? Whether that's some of my profit or even having a losing week or whatever it may be. I kind of found my balance with a couple trades a week. Sometimes a few more, sometimes a few less, right? It depends on the market. But yeah, either way, even when I'm not taking trades, I still hope you guys are able to enjoy the streams and take something away from what I'm doing, you know, whether it's just my breakdown or my perspective on how, you know, these different pairs are moving and whatnot. Yeah. Rainy and damp day in Texas. That's unfortunate. Is it warm down there? How's the weather? I'm here in Toronto, and it snowed like last week. It snowed on the 2nd of May, 4 days ago, which is crazy. Starting to get nice, but very rarely yet in Toronto. Like, the summer's going to be like June through like August, and then it's just cold. Not literally, but it's what it feels like. The summer, it feels like this, like winter's like 9 months and the summer's like 3. My God, chat. I don't know if you guys notice, I shaved my face. I've been shaving it more like clean shaven recently. And now looking at myself with like the light on me in the camera, looks weird. Looks much, I feel like I look much younger and cleaner at the same time because I don't grow the best beard and shit. 80 yesterday, 56 today. Okay. Still not bad, but it's definitely, it's not boiling. Does it snow down there in the wintertime? Or is it kind of like warmish year round? Like, do you guys like bust out the ski jackets, or just kind of like, you know, a light coat type thing in the wintertime? I would love to be able to just not like bundle up in a jacket and cold weather stuff all year. That'd be awesome. Can't even imagine it, to be honest. All right, chat, we got 30-minute closure, 15 as well. One of my AirPods died, so I hope it doesn't sound like I'm yelling. Yeah, we got a solid closure. It's not perfect, it's not pretty necessarily, but it's definitely not bad. And, you know, we have a small top wick here. A bigger top wick wouldn't be bad, but it also could make this move with the smaller top wick. And I want to prepare for that, all right? So stop loss is pretty solid. I got to pull up my thing here. I'd like to keep the risk under 3% on this. So if that means a 0.05 at around 2.6, 2.7% risk for a possible 17.5% profit, that's great risk to reward. Risk is low and well managed. It's also low enough to the point where if I enter and it goes into drawdown, it pulls back and remains valid, it keeps me in, or maybe if it doesn't, but either way, if it pulls back and remains clean, I can look for another entry. And if I go, you know, too high of risk on the first one, which I don't, because, you know, I've been doing this for so long, I don't ever go too high of risk, like accidentally or anything. But with it being lower risk, I would be open to stacking an entry, even possibly a better entry, right? If it does pull back, that could give me a better entry. So I wouldn't mind stacking one. But I don't want to over risk, or even over risk for me, which would be, you know, on the higher side. Like if I'm risking 4 to 5% on this one, less chance I'm going to be stacking my position, because even though that's still not crazy risk, that's still higher risk that I don't want to take necessarily. So yeah, I mean, I guess it is situational to a degree, but yeah, that's how I'm feeling. So I'm probably going to go the 0.05 lot when it's time here. Now, if it is going to pull back more and then I catch an entry at a little bit better of a point, like in the sense that it's closer to my stop loss, but in a good way, you know what I mean? Closer, not that it's in a way that's pulling back towards it, but maybe it pulls back up and then gives us a rejection and then it starts to make the move and it just happens to be closer to this level. then my risk would naturally be even lower, which could allow me to up my stop loss, or sorry, my lot size by like 0.1, but you know, it's not that serious. So whatever. I'm probably going to enter a 0.05 with this one on the small account challenge here. And we'll see if we can throw another one down if it gets, if it pulls back on us. All right. But the goal is not for it to pull back and enter another one. You know, I can also look for another one lower down in profit, but that is just, I just want to tell you guys that in case it does pull back, that I would look for something like that as well. Warm year round, snow sometimes in February. Okay, okay. That's pretty solid. Yeah, never been down there. I know, I have a buddy who moved down there, like, as a child, like, grew up type thing, and then moved there. Like, yeah. Very cool, very cool. Chat, it's a little bit up and down here, right? We see 1 sec, it's creating a top wick, pulling back up. Next second, it's kind of flipping, going red. And what that's telling me is we don't want to rush this. We want to be patient and let it do its thing a little bit. Let's try and expect a possible pullback here until it's, you know, showing us that it's clearly ready to make this move. And that's when we want to jump in, all right? We don't want to jump in the sell here when it's, you know, kind of on the fence here, where it looks like for 1 second it's starting to make a move and then pull back up a little bit. It's a little bit premature here. So let's see. But I do expect a sell coming very soon. I do expect it. Doesn't mean I'm going to force it. I don't need to trade tonight, but I'd be happy to take one if it's going to give me an opportunity. So let's see what happens. Chat, with this one, we've been on for about an hour. I'm going to come back to you guys a little bit with some updates. I'd love to be able to hop in one in the next little bit. I'm not going to sleep too soon. I mean, it's 8:30, so I'm going to be up for a little while. And I'm going to be back with some updates as this develops, and we'll see if we can catch that nice entry, all right? We want to wait for the right time and really capitalize on it as best as we can. So patience is key, chat. You guys know how it goes. Let me write that here for you guys, because couldn't be more true. And I like to have the reminder here for all of us. Oh, I got to get a key emoji. 1 sec. Oh, chat, there go the AirPods. They are dead. Holy lag on the computer. Jesus. All right, all marked up and looking good here, chat. It's actually starting to hold up and come down a little bit. But like I said, you know, it's up, it's down, it's doing its thing. We don't want to rush in too quickly. All right. Okay, chat. I'll be back with some updates shortly, and we'll see if we can hop in one tonight. All right, back with you guys soon.